Hey guys, welcome to Wrestling Daze and welcome to this quick top 5. I want to answer a question that I get asked more than anything else at the moment, and that is, who is my favourite ever wrestler? So I thought it'd be cool to just do a really quick top 5. So in at number 5, Jake the Snake Roberts. I loved the Snake, but not only that, you know, it was the great equaliser, and you knew you'd see him come down, and you know, you knew you'd see Damien at some point. But it's the fact that he also created the DDT, you know, Damien's deadly trap, the DDT, bang. You know, that's a move that's used all the time. Also, the fact that he was so focused, and whenever you saw an interview, it was like he was softly spoken. You know, he wasn't shouting, going, "I'm going to see you at the Coliseum," or whatever it might be. He's very softly spoken, and his in-ring psychology, I was hooked. Everything about Jake the Snake, I was hooked. Number 4, Davey Boy Smith, the British Bulldog. How could I not have the British Bulldog in this list? To watch wrestling, and you had to watch it on Sky, as you still do, but back in, you know, the early 90s, it was, not everyone had Sky, so it was really difficult to watch. It wasn't like just turn the telly on, there it is, and we didn't have it, so I used to have to get, you know, a chance to go around to my cousins who did have it, and cut a long story short, to watch this other world, you know, this bigger than life personalities, it's like a circus in many ways. But to see a British guy in amongst that, flying the Union flag, you know, it really struck a chord with me, because it's like, that could be me. That could be me. You know, it's awesome. And Davey was one of the strongest. You know, he used to pick them up, hold them in that kind of vertical suplex, get all the blood rushing to their heads, really hang them there, and then drop them back, and running Bulldog, and just the way he looked, he was pumped. He really stuck out, and I loved him, absolutely loved him. Still one of my favourite moments is him against Bret Hart at SummerSlam 92, which I know has been mentioned in loads of videos, but yeah, just what a match. Number 3, really my favourite wrestler for when I was growing up, and it's the Ultimate Warrior. The only reason he's not been able to cling on to first place is because really he kind of, a lot of what he'd achieved was before I started watching. You know, when he was coming through and his feuds with Rick Rude and winning at WrestleMania 6, it was all before I'd been watching. So I got the end of the Warrior. And then he went off and went to WCW, and I wasn't a WCW fan, but I looked into him more and watched his older matches, and you know, his energy, everything about the Warrior, you know, his promos, the way he'd run to the ring, shaking the ropes, you know, his matches used to be quite short. Obviously, you get to learn a little bit more about the wrestlers, and I understand that, you know, he did things that weren't brilliant, like refusing to go out there unless he got paid X amount of money. So Vince had to pay him just to get him to do his job. Yeah, he's fallen down in my pecking order, but he's still in that top 5 in at number 3, just because, you know, he's given us some of the most iconic wrestling imagery of all time, and what a character, but for a long time was my number 1. Number 2, another guy that was for a long time my number 1, Shawn Michaels, Mr. WrestleMania. I loved him when I was watching him, and he was the Heartbreak Kid, and he'd come out, he'd be very arrogant, he'd be with Sensational Sherry, and then like watching him go on to get his title, the boyhood dream comes true. He was very arrogant, he was, you know, a very good heel, but I think when he came back, was it 2002? And that run that he had, you know, leading all the way up to that final match against Undertaker at WrestleMania 26 in that retirement match, but that WrestleMania 25 match, his match against John Cena, for me, he became my favourite when he came back, and he put on, I think, you know, that match he has against Triple H, just brilliant from a guy that had been out of the business for like 4 years. Shawn Michaels is regarded, you know, by many as the greatest, and I struggle to disagree. But I am going to disagree, because my number one is The Undertaker. If you want to talk about a gimmick that's just bang on, if you want to talk about his entrance, if you want to talk about his moveset with the tombstone and the last ride and the old school walking the ropes where he comes down on top, if you want to talk about some of the matches he's been in, like the street matches, like the Hell in a Cell match against Mick Foley, like the work he did with Kane, you know, WrestleMania 20. I can't sit here and go through everything. You know Undertaker as well as what I do, but that's why he's my number one. He just ticks every box. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. I would absolutely love to know your top 5. Please drop it in the comments below, or jump over to Twitter and Facebook at Wrestling Daze UK and you can let me know there. If you haven't subscribed to Wrestling Daze on YouTube, I'd really appreciate it if you could, because it's just great to see the channel grow and the more people joining us. And I think that was everything. Yeah, it was just a quick one. I hope you enjoyed it though. I'd like to try and do a few more of these in the future. But that's everything from me. Thanks for watching. See you again next time.